author and nutritionist Robert Ferguson. Please welcome Robert Ferguson.
All right, y'all, let's hear it for America's Fat Loss Coach, Robert Ferguson!
Boom! Hey, everybody, this is Robert Ferguson. Thank you for being here. I had to come live. Because I did an impromptu right before this where I did a live seminar, and I want to thank all the people that came. It was a good amount of people that showed up. We used Zoom. Everybody came in, and we talked about the Carb Threshold Report, the Carb Threshold Score. We talked about a whole bunch of other stuff, and I was like, you know what? I got to do an encore. I got to come back on because a lot of people didn't know about it. They totally missed it. It wasn't on YouTube. It wasn't anywhere else. Whoever saw it had the chance to come. They came, and I'm just so thankful. Now, for those of you who are new for the first time, my name is Robert Ferguson. I am your nutritionist. I'm a guy who cares, and that's why I share. It's not about just making you become a client or selling a book or selling this or selling that. It's about getting the word out and giving you an opportunity to be informed so you are less likely to fall prey to the majority of things out there that's coming from a place of misinformation. And I say that again and again and again and again because there's so much misinformation. It just blows my mind. And if I'm going to do something, you know what? I want to make sure that I am clear on what I'm about to do. And I know that you feel the same. We all want to be informed. And there's nothing that's more troubling to me, this more problematic than when you believe one thing and you start going down that road and you find out that what someone shared with you and you actually believe doesn't work out. And I'm not talking about anything but nutrition, fitness, and its relationship with losing excess body fat and improving metabolic health. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about improving your health. Imagine someone says, hey, if you eat pineapple, it's high in sugar. Hey, yeah, you don't want to eat carrots, they're high in sugar. Hey, don't eat honey, it's high in sugar. You want to use agave nectar. Yeah, that's way better. That's healthier for you. Or the people that say, don't eat brown rice. Or then the other people, oh no, you want to eat brown rice. There's so much confusion around nutrition that it just blows my mind because I see people falling prey to it. And sometimes it doesn't work out for them. I mean, not long ago, I did a presentation for a group. It was a church. And we did this presentation. And this one young lady really wanted to work with me. And I was taking on some clients and I was going to put her into this program, but money was tight. Now, someone in that group said, hey, I got you because I'm going to do it too. I'm going to sponsor you. So I didn't think anything of it. And then about a week ago, I had a conversation with someone who was in that group that I was actually coaching. And in the conversation, it came up. And I said, hey, whatever happened to that one lady? I thought that they were going to, be all in. And she goes, yeah, she wanted to be all in. And what about the other person that said they're going to sponsor and like, let's do this together? Yeah. That person has been in the hospital twice. And the young lady who was really excited about this, she's dead. She is no longer walking the earth. And yes, she died because of her health situation. And it just bothers me because I sit back and I just go, man, we could have helped that young lady. She wanted to do it. And if I had known that this other person wasn't going to do their part, I would have sponsored her in. If someone's all about it and they can't afford it, part of my personal ministry is to help them. I help a lot of people. I help people where I don't make any money. I help people where I make little money. And then I have moments where I make really large amount of money because of my work. And I feel blessed when that happens. And that puts me in a position where I could help even more people. I mean, since the pandemic, I have just been turned upside down. I'm amazed. Well, not amazed. I'm thankful that I'm still in business. I'm still able to like help people because it's been a financial struggle. I mean, it was really tough making it through that pandemic. It was not easy. And we're still coming out of it. But I'm coming out of it like running, excited because doors are opening really like never before. And they're opening in a way where it's an independent type opening where I'm not counting on anyone else. I'm counting on the people closest to me because we're working together, and we're working together because we really want to make a difference. So anyway, I don't want to sit here and preach. I just want to share some information with you. Now, for those of you, today, as I'm sharing this, is Wednesday. Every time it's Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to mention our 8-week fat loss challenge. You can go to our store because it's the best way to start the challenge is on a Monday. And the best time to get yourself prepared and prepped is like now, so you can figure it all out. We have steps 1 through 4. You go through that. It tells you exactly what you're going to need so that when you wake up on Monday, you can perform the challenge. Other than that, I want to share a little bit of information based on what I shared earlier, because the group that I got to share with, I mean, I want to say thank you guys. That was an awesome group. It felt like old school, like people who are there, they wanted the information. They were attentive. Everybody stayed. I went over because I can be a little long-winded at times, but they stayed. They stayed. Man, they stayed. And I got to answer additional questions. And so I'm just moved as an encore to kind of share a couple more things, right? Because in this group, one of the things that I shared, and I didn't go into great detail, but I shared some solutions. And I talked about certain proteins are high in this essential amino acid called leucine. And if you don't have leucine in your body, it's kind of like having electricity coming to your house, and you can't benefit from that electricity unless you turn the switch. And leucine is like the switch. So if you're eating protein, but you don't get this one essential amino acid, you can't turn the switch. And the switch of optimizing your ability to absorb the protein and synthesize it where you're benefiting, you're preserving that lean muscle tissue. And for those young folks trying to build muscle, it puts you in a position to build. And foods that are rich in leucine is like eggs. We talked about chicken, firm tofu for the vegetarians, canned navy beans. I use that a lot when I make my chili. Squash, pumpkin seeds, great thing to snack on. It's part of our morning oats. Pork chops, tuna. So there's a lot of foods, and there's more. But you want to make sure you're eating those things. Otherwise, you're not going to benefit and preserve that very important muscle. And for those of you over the age of 40, that muscle is like gold. It is gold. And we talked about how some nutrition programs don't address this, and people lose weight, but they don't look healthy. And that's because the weight they lost that you see on the scale is coming from their bone, water, and their muscle. So you could be on a weight loss program with really low calories. There's some out there, and you'll lose weight on the scale, but you don't look healthy. And unfortunately, you don't have people telling you. You may look, I know some people that are doing some of these crazy diets and they don't look healthy. It's kind of like watching someone who goes through chemo. They don't look healthy. Now, they may be lighter on the scale, but they don't look healthy. And when they gain weight back, which most will, then it's that much more difficult to lose weight because they've lost that all-important lean muscle tissue. And muscle is really important when you're talking about regulating your glucose, right? You eat carbs, glucose gets into your body, and your muscle is primarily responsible for the uptake of that glucose, right? So your muscle pulls that glucose, it pulls it in, even without the assistance of the hormone insulin. And then it converts that glucose to this thing called glycogen. And it can use it for energy, and storage is there for emergencies. And the same is with, our liver. A certain amount gets converted to glycogen and is stored there. Well, if you're not eating the way we were talking about protein today, you know what? Reach out to us. But as we were talking about the Carb Threshold report, which I'm really proud of, and I'm going to start really sharing and pushing big time, because it gives you that foundation that you have clarity on what is going to help you move forward. right? It's kind of like we go to the doctor for your annual visit and you get lab work done. So imagine we didn't get lab work done. You wouldn't know that you have high triglycerides. You wouldn't know that you have hemoglobin A1C that puts you into a category of being pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic. You wouldn't know certain things about your kidney function. So we get the lab work so that we know. And once you know, which a lot of people are afraid to find out and know, but once you know, then you can do something about it. So the carb threshold report is like lab work based and framed around insulin resistance. It puts you in a position where we can find out if you have insulin resistance or if you don't. And if you do have it, okay, what level are we at? And we can say this with confidence because we've helped hundreds, thousands of people reverse their insulin resistance and get back their quality of life and improve their metabolic health. But you got to know. Now, if you're working with any of our coaches, we will know because that's part of our onboarding, right? When you come on board, we find out certain things. We find out your carb threshold score. We don't give you a report, but because we're coaching you, we do look at your score because we use that. That helps us coach you on how to best show you how to eat where you are, where you can shift your body into a place where you're primarily burning fat instead of primarily burning carbs. And so it was fascinating. But you know what? The most fascinating part about our talk tonight that I did was how we took our time in the beginning. And I couldn't have done it the way I did it unless I had a really good group of people. So I had a great group of people and we took our time. Even some of my clients were on this call. And what I like about it is that even they, and I work with them one-on-one. This doesn't mean I'm a bad coach, but the way it worked and the flow of how I taught like the lecture, everyone really understood what carbs were. Now you're thinking, of course I know what carbs are. So if you're catching me live, what is a carb to you? Now I'm not talking or asking people to respond who are my clients, because I know you know. But I'll tell you this, most people think carbs only include things like pasta, rice, bread, tortillas. Most people, and I've surveyed a lot of people, interviewed a lot of people, took on a lot of clients. Many of you, before I'm saying what I'm saying, don't even look at broccoli as a carb. You don't look at bell peppers as a carb. You don't look at, asparagus as a carb. And they are carbs. Any plant-based food, anything that comes from a plant is a carb. But we live in a society where everyone just looks at carbs as pasta, bread, tortillas. Those are carbs also. But carbs have been demonized for the wrong reason. And so in our lecture or the seminar that I did tonight, we looked at carbs. Then they started to see really clear that carbs, when you eat them and they break down, eventually they show up in your blood in one form of sugar called glucose. So if I eat broccoli, I'm going to have glucose in my blood. If I eat pasta, I'm going to have glucose in my blood. And so we looked at, okay, all right, we got it. Everybody's got it. We got that. And I showed them, we had like some really cool like pictures that I shared. So we now understand what carbs are and how carbs, when you eat them, eventually break down and become glucose, sugar in your blood. So once we did that, then we went and we spent some time on insulin, the hormone insulin. Now I've talked to nurses, trained, educated people, and they would confuse glucose and insulin and the roles that they play and how they work in the body. And so we took a slow, just not too slow, but we went a little slow. And everybody understood glucose. Then we went into insulin. And I share with them, like, insulin is something that can be taken, right? And you can put it in your body and it can save your life, especially if you're type 1 diabetic. Type 1 diabetics didn't live long back in the day before they discovered insulin. And so insulin, they can live the same length of time I live. And I'm not a type 1 diabetic. And they can really manage their health in a really good way. But what I showed them was some pictures where when you don't have insulin working in your body, or you don't have it, you will get really skinny and thin, like really skinny. So insulin is a anabolic hormone, which means it supports growth. Growth. Now, knowing that, and you're a type 1 diabetic, and with insulin, okay, now you can live a healthy, fit, vibrant life. And at the same time, when insulin is being secreted from your pancreas, and the way we can eat in a way where we can end up becoming really heavy. And so we really took our time, and I showed them some really cool like images I put together on how insulin works in the body, and how insulin, when it's elevated for long periods of time, can actually set you up for a whole bunch of metabolic problems. I'm talking migraines, hypertension, high blood pressure. It can cause erectile dysfunction, low testosterone. It can cause a whole bunch of stuff, dementia, Alzheimer's, and the list goes on. And oftentimes is overlooked, and not even people aren't even aware of it. When you go to the doctor, like you go to the doctor, they will do your fasting glucose, sugar, but they're not always doing your fasting insulin. They will look at your hemoglobin A1C because it's connected to sugar, but they're not looking at your insulin. And you could have perfect glucose, as I demonstrated in the lecture tonight. Like your glucose you could be right now going, I'm good, because you're off in what the meaning between glucose and insulin is. You're walking around going, yeah, no, my glucose was good. Now my hemoglobin A1, because you're looking at sugar. You could have perfect glucose, but behind the curtain, like in the Wizard of Oz, you could have elevated insulin that over 5, 10, 15, 20 years being elevated shows up with high blood pressure, shows up in the form of migraines, shows up in the form of insulin resistance, where it's harder to lose weight. There you go. So the conversation was great because I felt that everyone was learning. And as a result of them learning, that makes me happy. Because once you know and you have clarity, then you can't be disrupted by the people who don't know. If I'm sitting on the plane and I'm talking to someone and they're just going on and on about how much they believe in this diet and that diet, well, it's unfortunate, but they just don't know. And it's fortunate that we actually know. And part of what, like I was sharing with the group tonight, part of what puts me in a position where I know, because you could be sitting there going, well, okay, well, who are you to know? And everybody else, I'm not saying everybody don't know. I'm just saying that we've done 2 evidence-based clinical trials. I'm saying that I've been doing this since 1995. I'm a better coach today than I was in 95. I'm a better coach today than I was in 2005. I'm a better coach today than I was last year. So I'm constantly pushing the envelope to see how I can become better tomorrow. I want to be really good in 5 years. And in 10 years, I want to be just like, wow, like a tiger. Like, I got this. And I feel that way right now. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of do an encore. And if you have questions about anything that we bring up, please reach out, because the difference between you being successful and not successful with losing weight or improving your metabolic health, which covers everything from triglycerides to cholesterol, hypertension, all of it, is really having the right information, is having accurate information. Because it's one thing to like give up foods and to like beat yourself up and to avoid this and avoid that. And 6 months goes by and you're in the same spot, sometimes worse. Man, who wants to go down that road? That's why when we take on the clients, right? So our nutritionist, health, and weight loss coaches who are certified to teach the diet-free life methodology. When we take on a client, we have a discovery phase. It's an onboarding phase where we want to discover. And it goes two ways, right? Because you discover, I get to discover, then we have clarity, and then we can put you on the right path. And then putting you on the right path puts you on a path of power. Yeah, that's a big difference. Not codependency, right? So if you do a lot of diet programs, you become codependent on what you're doing. You don't experience freedom, right? So there's a big difference there. You want freedom. You want to be in a position where you choose, you're aware, you got the ball. Because when you lose weight with the program where you're codependent, meaning, all right, I got to count on eating their food. You're codependent. You're dependent on eating their food. And yes, will you lose weight? Yes. But what happens when you stop eating their food? You already know the answer. You're going to gain the weight back because you were dependent. It's like a woman in a relationship or a man in a relationship with a woman, and you're codependent on that person. And now that person's gone. Now what? You got to move back in with the parents. You got to become dependent on somebody else. You never establish that freedom, that independency. I'll end on this, unless you guys have a question. If you have a question about anything, it doesn't have to be about the talk I did. And if you guys caught the talk, if you have a question to follow, hey, bring it. I'm here to help. I'm here to provide some direction. But I'm sitting here thinking about one day I had this client. This is in probably 2000, 2001. And I can't think of her name right now. And it really bothers me because she was awesome. She was a really good client. And she was always smart. So she was that client that, you know, I ended up doing personal training with her. I was her nutritionist first. And then I ended up being her trainer. And I'll never forget one day when she was talking about diet-free life. She goes, Robert, you know what I like about diet-free life? I go, yeah, what do you like? Like, what do you like most? And she says, it's about freedom. And I was sitting there, and at this point, I had never said this. She goes, I feel like it's freedom. Because when you're on a diet, you're like in jail, you're like in prison. You're restricted, you're contained. But with free will and having the knowledge, like you coaching me, like I've just learned so much, and I feel like I have freedom. Wow. And that's when I was like, you know what? If there was one word that would describe what we do, and I would share this with any of my clients, any of you guys. If you're talking to someone, they say, so what's different about, I mean, you're being coached by Robert, or you're being coached by some coach, you know, that teaches the diet-free life methodology. Like, what's different about, like, is there one word that describes the difference? I go, all right, when you think of a diet, right, you think of keto, or you think of paleo, or you think of carnivore, you think of Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and all these diets, right? What's the word that describes them? And when you think about it, it's like restriction, deprivation, avoidance. But with diet-free life, it's freedom. Because I can go to any restaurant, I could be with any family, and I can create a fat-burning meal with whatever foods I have access to. If you're carnivore and you go somewhere, and let's say the family's vegan, what are you going to eat? You're done. You can't do anything. You just watch them eat. Because most people who do that, they're not eating vegetables. They're not eating potatoes. They're not eating rice. But with the diet-free life methodology, I know how to make a vegan-style fat-burning meal. Freedom. That's the difference. Boom. All right. Look at Holly. Holly, you're awesome, Holly. Fist bump. I got you. I got you, my friend. Holly's amazing. She is. I actually look forward to talking to Holly. I don't know if she looks forward to talking to me, but I look forward to talking to Holly. I'm just kidding, Holly. And the reason why I look forward, like, I would say most of the clients that I communicate with on a regular basis, I really look forward to talking to them. I do. And some of them I don't talk to as often. I have some clients I talk to once a month, sometimes every 2 weeks, some like once a quarter. And I miss it. But then I look forward to like talking to them because they inspire me. You know what I mean? They're good people. You know, like there's Sharon. What's up, Sharon? Like I look forward to talking to Sharon. Like Sharon is a wealth of knowledge. She is on a mission. And I've been with this lady. I mean, we've gone through a lot. I mean, she's gone through it. I just happen to be there witnessing and being there, watching her go through like some operations and challenges like that. But she just keeps bouncing back, man. The Energizer Bunny. Like she just keeps going because she's on a mission. Now, she may get off track, same as all of us. But the cool thing about, the Diet for Your Life methodology, when you get off track, if we want to call it that, with your next meal or snack, you're back. It's not like, oh, I blew it, it's over. No, you're not condemned. You're not condemned. And then you're back. You're back. So it's all good, man. And when you learn about food, right? So like next week, I'll be talking to a lot of my clients about this essential amino acid that is very important on preserving muscle. Because right now we have quite a few people turning 65 like every week. We're starting to see crazy hip fractures taking place as far as numbers. And a lot of people don't make it out of the hospital. And then we're seeing a second hip fracture. Then they don't make it out of the hospital. Because as you lose muscle, sarcopenia, in Greek, it means vanishing flesh. Everything around those muscles and connected to those muscles gets weakened as well. And a big reason why there's two main reasons why we're seeing more hip fractures and the loss of muscle. Number one is we're not using the muscle. And number two, we're not eating in a way to preserve the muscle, which means you're getting an adequate amount of protein throughout the day. And you're making sure you're getting an adequate amount of leucine, which is an essential amino acid. And certain foods have it. And so when I'm looking at my clients' profiles and they're sharing with me the foods they eat, I'm not just listening to the foods they eat. I'm looking for things like that. And when they are doing it naturally, there's nothing else to talk about. So if I have a client that eats eggs and I know they eat chicken on a pretty regular basis, then I know they're good. They're getting plenty of leucine. But if I'm working with someone who is, maybe they lean more toward the vegetarian side or they hate chicken, they'll never eat an egg, then I got to encourage certain foods. And a lot of times they will eat steak and they will eat, squash or pumpkin seeds as a snack. I would say, hey, have you ever thought about pumpkin? Oh, I love pumpkin seeds. Boom. Then I know that they're getting a good amount of leucine, which is that switch that makes it possible for everything to work. So there you go. Anyway. All right, you guys. Thank you. This is my encore after doing that impromptu. I'm going to do this presentation that I did earlier next week. I'm going to shoot for probably either Wednesday or Thursday. And I'll give plenty of notice, but it's going to be called the Carb Threshold Report. Somehow that'll be part in there, I think. Or I'm probably going to go with the name that I'm using for this seminar I'm going to do in Darlington, Wisconsin, this coming Saturday, which will be around the same things I'm sharing right now. So, but I will do it. It will be free, and I will invite you, and you can come. You can bring as many people as you want, because I'm going to show you exactly how it all works inside of our body and our cells. And when you have that added clarity, man, when you're thinking about eating and doing certain things, your mind just goes, oh, I know what to do. And I know what to do. Why? It's not just like, soft understanding. You have a little bit more detailed understanding. And I'll share it in a way where it keeps your attention. Unless these people today were just absolutely amazing. I kept everybody's attention. Everybody was interactive. It was really fun. And we'll be doing this also in the challenges starting next week also. So once a week, for those who are participating in the 8-week fat loss challenge, we're going to have like these special encore opportunities where I'll share some extra cool things but then give people a chance to interact and ask questions live. Okay. So there you go. I'm Robert Ferguson. I share because I care. And when you get a chance, go to our YouTube channel. Make sure you click that bell, and it will give you an option where you can click to be notified whenever we upload a new video or go live. And then you can either catch it then, or you can watch it at your convenience. Thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate you. So until the next one, I'm Robert Ferguson. Learn more, contact us at dietfreelife.com.